mentor. I'm a sustainability and OSH professional and the convener of 𝗣𝗣𝗘𝗧𝗦 as well. So in a nutshell, that's who I am. Then tonight we're going to be looking at a very interesting topic. And when I saw the topic, I was asking myself, how did my sister get to this topic? What are I teaching without saying a word? And it was very interesting to me because I believe in one way or the other, it's either we are parents here, or we are mentors, or we are big brothers or big sisters. And at one point in time, we have the opportunity to teach something to a younger person in our lives, be it relatives that are siblings, our children, or somebody we have oversight over. And so it's very interesting, and I believe that irrespective of your status here, at one point or the other, as far as you are older than somebody, you would, in one way or the other, be teaching them something that you are not saying with your mouth. I remember there's a phrase that I usually like to use. You are saying what you have not said. So there are times that you've not opened your mouth to say anything, but you're actually saying a lot. And so it's on that note, or we're going to be moving on that trajectory tonight. All right. So we are saying here that what is happening in the background, once we are speaking about teaching something without saying a word, is not something that is abstract. It is something that is actually happening in our present or current world, especially in this 21st century, where parents could be living with their kids, but then before you realize, your child already knows something that you as a parent, you have not taught that child. Now the question is, who is teaching that child? Because consciously as a parent, you believe that you have not passed on that particular knowledge or skill consciously to the child. So the question is that, how did the child get to know? So that's what we're going to be exploring tonight. And I'll start off with a statement. We are saying that your child is not only listening to you, but your child is studying you. Your child is not only listening to you, but they are studying you. And I want to start off on this note by saying that God is a mastermind. For those of you who believe in God, God is a mastermind. Actually, parenting is God's tool to actually raise every generation. Parenting, it's God's tool to raise every generation. Because it's God's, in God's wisdom, He placed a clean slate, like a child, in the hands of parents. And so the work of parenting is like somebody who is partnering with God to raise a new life afresh. So it makes the work of parenting so delicate, and if I may put it, even a divine work, or a work that must be seen as something that is holy or sacred. Because what it means is that if you have a chance to be a parent, or you have a chance to teach a child anything, you are partnering with God. Because a child comes as somebody who is innocent, like a clean slate that we are now going to write on, a slate that hasn't been written on before. It's like a device that is now going to be programmed altogether. So I see it as a sacred work that we must pay a lot of attention to, especially in this our 21st century. All right. So interestingly, if your child, I want to ask a question. If your child became exactly like you, I'm talking about not what you are telling them, but what you are demonstrating every day. This is a question, a rhetorical question, actually. Would you be proud of who they are becoming? I mean, this is not a question of, or a question that is designed to produce guilt, sort of, no. But then it's a genuine question. It's a question designed to actually produce awareness, because awareness is where intentional parenting begins. Because if you're not aware, then it means that whatever sort of parenting is that is happening is like something that is happening by chance. So until parenting is intentional, whatever that is happening, we have lost control over it. And so we usually say that the deepest teaching that you will ever do happens in the ordinary moments of your life. It's not necessarily from a platform like this, or I mean, where you will always sit your child down and be communicating in words, but it's actually from who you are when no one is watching. Because actually, when you think no one is watching, your children are actually watching. All right, so let's continue. All right, so parenting is always teaching. Parenting is actually a work of teaching. Whether you are speaking, you are not speaking, whatever you are doing is actually a teaching work. I mean, and it's a lifelong process. Even when you are 20 years, you are 25 years, you realize that there's still something that your parents can teach you, because all the time you would attest to the fact that they have been where you are yet to be. And so if you are 25 years and it's new to you, you know that your parents have been 25 years before. And so they would have something to teach you at that stage of your life, especially if you encounter any challenges as you are aging, as you are growing. They are always a go-to people to be able to glean some knowledge and wisdom from. And so the work of parenting continues all the time unabated. I mean, and for children too, whilst you are still teaching, whether you like it or not, as a parent, as a guardian, as a mentor, you are always teaching, whether you are conscious of it or not. That is the same way children are also learning non-stop by observation. And so if you've read or you have some knowledge about social psychology, there's what we call learning by observation. And so that is where people learn by just observing. And there's no word communication, but then it's just by observing. You observe and then you replay what you are observing. And so this is done whether voluntarily or involuntarily, it's ongoing. Now, how do parents teach? But what we say, number one, that's the most common. I mean, the words, how you communicate, the words you use. And so you usually realize that in a home setting, when you have kids growing up, there are certain words that parents are highly encouraged not to be using when the kids are around. But I would like to look at it from a different perspective and say that, can we choose certain words and say that maybe in this our home, we would not use these words, irrespective of whether the children are home or not? Because if you are now going to be using those words only when the children are not home, then are you just acting something by eye service, or this is who you really are? And so what we want to establish here is that you are not sort of faking a life before the kids, but you are living as a real person so that they can imitate what you're doing or how you speak. That's by what you say. Then we are saying what you do. And these are the actions that we exhibit on a daily basis. And that's what we just said, that learning by observation. And so we have the next one, what you tolerate. So there are things that you tolerate if a kid or a child does something, or there's any behavior or any action at home, and you do not react to it or you do not respond to it. The communication that children get is that then this is okay. Because it's just like how we have rewards and sanctions or punishments. So it's actions that attract rewards or sanctions. And so if there's any action, there's any display of any behavior, and there is no corresponding response to it. If the activity is something that a parent frowns on, then the response should be something that shows that we frown on this. But if there's nothing, then it shows that, okay, this is something that is tolerated, and me as a child, I am free to exhibit this behavior or attitude. Then we say what you celebrate. So there's a book called, I think there's something on habits. There's a book on habits. It speaks about, I think there's a cue there's a routine and there's a reward. So they did an experiment in a laboratory. They used a lab rat, and they did some experiment. They realized that it now became like a routine where once that action is taken by the lab animal, then there's a routine to go through a certain maze, and then it will find it was like a cheese or something like that. So that is like the reward. And so what is celebrated now, it got to a time it became like almost an automatic activity for the rat. Once there's a certain sound, once the rat hears that clicking sound, then it knows that it has to automatically go through that route, and it became like almost automatic. The rat could just find its way, just because right after going through that maze, it will end up with where the cheese is, and that was the reward. And so what you celebrate now becomes something that signals to the child that this is something that is valued and I must continue with this activity. And so what we are saying here again is that there is no off button. Every moment is a lesson. So if you look at what we've gone through, what you say, what you do, what you tolerate, what you celebrate, these are all daily activities. All right. We move on. All right. So we are saying that your home has a curriculum. This is interesting. Your home has a curriculum, and it's an invisible or a silent curriculum actually, which operates, I mean, every single day. And like we said in the previous slide, it operates through your responses, through your relationships, through your routines. And I would say that this is a silent curriculum that your child is enrolled on, whether it is planned or it is unplanned. And so we can see this play out on one, how you handle anger when you're angry at home. So children actually learn this because they watch what happens at home. I was sharing with somebody that I remember so much as a person, how my father used to handle anger, because I would never see him raise his voice at my mom or anything. And so growing up, I realized that, okay, there was a way he handled anger. And by the time I realized, I could see that that is the same way that I also react when I'm angry at home. And so this is learned. It was passed on because that is what I used to see. And you hardly see a physical expression of the anger. And I believe that it really helped our home. I've been opportuned, and by the grace of God, to live in a very peaceful home right from my infancy till now. Now, the next thing is how to treat people. Respect, compassion, dignity, and all that. All of that are passed on even before you believe your child is of age, and so they understand what it's called dignity, and so you want to sit and have a conversation with them. I am glad to announce to you that unfortunately all these things are actually observed and learned even before you believe your child now can speak English, and so you want to sit and have a conversation with them because you feel their brain is a lot more developed now to have a meaningful conversation. Unfortunately, by the time you believe that that is the right time, this learning has already gone on, because they watch how you treat each other as a spouse. If you're a parent, they watch how you treat their siblings. And so, that is how come even in homes that kids receive some kids receive a lot of preferential treatment, before you realize there is some sort of hatred that is breeding around. And that is not because you opened your mouth to speak to the child or one child and say that, hey, I like your big brother, or I like your junior brother more than you, or I like your big sister more than you. Have you ever wondered how kids get to grasp this and it looks like there's some tension amongst them? It's just because they have observed and learned that this is it. And in most cases, you realize that that assumption is actually the case. How to use money. Yes. How you spend money? Do you give to your neighbors? Do you give to people? How do you make financial decisions at home? Maybe when a child is around 4 years, they may not appreciate, but maybe 7 years, 9, 10, 11, they begin to make meaning out of all of these things. For example, I can remember so well how we used to be generous. I believe maybe there's a culture elsewhere too, maybe in Nigeria, in UK, wherever you're listening to us from, maybe during Christmas season or any other season, from time to time, you prepare something at home, you share with your neighbors, yeah, you pass on to people who you know do not have in your society. And these are all activities that we saw our parents doing. Let me share a typical example. I remember so much that when I was very small, on 25th December, my big sister and myself, we would be, or I'll see my parents planning. We would buy soft drinks. My mother, my sister would fry some chips. Sometimes we cook some rice with chicken and all of that. Then we package it nicely, and then it will be placed in a basket for my sister and myself to take it to our neighbors. So we go in tents, we say, okay, go to room so and so and give this to my sister so and so. And we were part of the process, and it taught us the act of generosity and giving. This is not by words, it's by actions. And that has stayed with me till today. How to use technology. In the past, we didn't have a lot of technology. If you are 30 years plus, I'm sure you would appreciate this very much, where maybe when you were small, you realized that it was very scarce to see a mobile phone, not to talk of a touch screen and all of that. Nokia 3310, you could play the snake game and all of that. But now we have it in abundance. And so how you are handling technology as a parent, when you get back home, are you always glued to the TV? Are you always watching movies? Always glued to your phone and all that? The children are watching. Once they start replicating the same, I do not believe that you will be able to have the moral right to be able to say, stop being on your phone. But they are watching and seeing mommy always on their phone, unless you want to just shout at them and instruct them to do otherwise, whilst you're also doing the opposite, which I don't believe is the right way to go. So what we are saying here is that every parent writes a curriculum, and the question is whether you write it intentionally or accidentally. So whether you are aware or you're not aware, there is a silent curriculum that is rolling out at your home or in your home, and your children are enrolled on this curriculum. So it will be prudent and the best choice to make, that is to write that curriculum intentionally before we leave it to chance. All right, so when do you teach? At what time would you be saying that, okay, I'm teaching my child, I'm teaching my son, I'm teaching my daughter or my mentee? If you're a caretaker, you're a guardian, what time would you say that you are teaching? Is there a particular time of the day? Is there a particular time in the night? How would you go about it? I like to call this the biblical blueprint. If you read the book of Deuteronomy, for those of you who believe in the Bible, if you read the book of Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 6 to 7, there's a very interesting scripture there. And it talks about when God instructed, or how God instructed a generation to pass on certain vital things to the younger generation. And that's a part of parenting, actually. So you can take note of the scripture and then read it if you have some time. The first one, you find in there that it was mentioned that when you sit, and when you sit in this our 21st century, the times that you usually will sit at home commonly is when you're going to have dinner. I mean, when I was small, I believe it will be so with those who are maybe 30 years and above here on this call, or maybe even 25 years plus. If you have that culture, or even if you still have it, it's so beautiful, where at home, the family at least once, maybe if it's dinner or on a weekend, whatever it is now, because of how work has gotten hold of everybody, there's a cycle, everybody's rushing early in the morning to work. and then returning late at night. I believe that usually it's just on weekends that families have the time to sit together and eat at the table. So that is a very key moment. The dinner table is a classroom. I remember sometimes it's around the dining table that certain updates are given, because once you are seated at the table, though they say that you don't talk when you are eating, but then in our culture, usually it's also a time to have a chat and discuss some other matters. So it's a good time to pass on certain vital information, certain virtues at the table. So when you sit, the next one, when you walk, now maybe I'll say when you ride, especially in the 21st century, because usually you are driving to work. If you're not driving and you're walking, that's fine. Or if you're not walking, then you'll be seated in a vehicle with your child to drop them off at school before you also continue to work or something like that. So once you are in a car, when you are in a car and you are driving, if you are seated in a vehicle, what do you talk about? The children are watching how you communicate with other road users. When somebody crosses you, do you drop the glass and then extend your hand and then insult them, or abuse them? All of that, the kids are watching. So when you walk, then when you lie down, that's to say that when you are retiring to bed in the evening, when you get home in the evenings before the kids go to bed, what do you do? What do you teach them? Some people read storybooks. Some people take the time off and ask them how their day was. Some people teach them Bible stories. Some people pray with their kids, whatever it is in the evening. Some people teach them songs. It's so beautiful. So these are times that are key and are crucial. It's not all the time that the kids should be watching movies in the evening or something like that. It is a time to also communicate or teach them. Then the last one here is when you rise. Morning habits. In the morning, what's the culture at your home? Do you do Bible studies, morning devotion? Do they read the Bible? Are they studying their books? Did the kids sleep and wake up at 6:45 and just rush off to school? Or you're able to train them to wake up early, or you wake them up, get them to read their books and all that. So these are things that must be done intentionally. It must be planned. Otherwise, it will be left to chance. So actually, biblical parenting or parenting the God way, it's not a program, it's a posture. It's actually a commitment that makes the ordinary daily living become like an opportunity to pass on things that are valuable and things that matter. And unfortunately, if this is not being done, what happens, or what is going to happen, is that now the world will now teach your child for you, since you are refusing to teach your own child. The world will do that for you, and they will do it in a way that you would not want it. And so this is an ancient model, and trust me, this is something that works. All right. Now let's look at something I call the mirror concept. The mirror concept. And what are we saying? We are saying that what does your child see? What does your child see? So I want to read this out. So if my child, or if your child copied your 1, work ethic and discipline; 2, speech and tone of voice; 3, how you handle anger; 4, your spending habits; 5, your relationship with your phone; 6, your integrity when no one is watching; 7, how you treat people with less power. The big question is, what kind of person would they become? So we are saying that a perspective of direction and patterns, not perfection. We are not saying that a parent should be without any faults. I mean, perfect. There's no blemish, 100%. You've never gone wrong in any way before. No, that is not the perspective we are looking at this from. What we are saying is that the direction and pattern that you are creating, is it worthy of emulation? If your child should follow all of these and emulate you, all these things that we have read, how you go about all of these things, what kind of person is your child going to become? That's what we are saying. And so that's how come I said that the work of parenting is sacred. You are carving a path for someone to follow. So if you are a parent, you cannot just but say that this is how I am. You cannot say this is my nature. And so if you like it or take it. No, it means that a responsibility has been placed on you to be able to carve a direction, point to a direction, and carve a pattern that is worthy of emulation. That if somebody should follow suit, they will not become worse off, but they'll become better people. That's all we are saying. And so it's a matter of patterns and directions, and not to say you should be a perfect person. Now, one interesting thing about this perspective is that the mirror does not lie. And unfortunately or fortunately, your child is standing in front of that mirror every day watching you. And what is that mirror? The mirror is you. You are the mirror. You are the mirror that your child is watching every day. The person they see in the mirror is just themselves. And when they see themselves in the mirror, who they are seeing is their current personality. But their minds are made to be able to have an image that they are looking up to all the time. And right from the time they wake up from the bed, or right from the word get go, when they are born, the mirror that they can see is you, the parent. That's the only mirror that they can see. And the mirror, again, we've said, as we all know and can testify, that the mirror does not lie. And so what kind of mirror are you to your children? Or anybody you are mentoring, anybody you are raising? All right. Now, let's look at something I call the credibility gap. Now, this happens where, as a parents, we are saying one thing to our children, but we are exhibiting the opposite. Now, this becomes something or a matter of confusion in the minds of children. They begin to wonder what's happening. I thought mommy said we shouldn't lie, but I was seated in a car with mommy, and we are at Oshodu, or we are at Lagos, but mommy just said that we are at Alaba, or we are at Abuja, or we are at Ikeja. But I thought we are in the home. We are at home now, or we are in a vehicle, and this is where we are. We are at number 2 street. But mommy just told auntie that we are almost at number 6 street. This becomes a matter of confusion in the minds of children. I thought when we do morning devotion, mommy always or daddy says that we should not tell lies, but all the time we should just tell the truth, because the truth will set us free, or the truth means that we have integrity. But how come? So, not to talk a lot about this, but then this is what I call the credibility gap. So an example is here. We are saying don't lie, but they hear and see us lying. Small lies, like the one I just told, we think that, oh, it's just to manage mommy, it's just to manage auntie, so the auntie will not scream and say that, oh, we are far away. But then there's no way you can explain this away to a child. Again, put your phone away. We are saying put your phone away, but we're always glued to ours. Is it that always getting glued to phones is good for parents, or is good for mommy and daddy? But when it comes to me, I have to stay away from my phone. And you see, this may work with children between a certain age limit. But let's say early teens, by the time they are teenagers, now they begin to challenge you, because no, this is some way. Why can't I also be allowed to use my phone when I'm back from school? Why are you always telling me to do my homework all the time in the evening? But when you return from work, I just see you all the time on the phone. I also think I'm done with my homework, so I can stay on my phone all the time. And so when they start challenging you, we are not saying that that's the way to go, but I would want to find out that has this been the foundation? How have you lived exemplary for them to follow? Another one, control your temper, but you always explode when you're frustrated. You can't manage your emotions, but you don't want your children to get angry. The next one, respect people, but they're always hearing you abusing others. So these are things that brings our credibility to question. And so we are saying that children don't need perfect parents. They just need honest ones. Let's just be honest. All right. Now, the power of authentic parenting. Of course, like we are saying, we don't need to say that, hey, this parent is perfect or become a perfect parent without blemish, or for you, you have never made a mistake before as a parent, or never make a mistake as far as parenting is concerned. No, but we are saying be authentic, be real. How can you do some of these things? We are saying just a simple, I am sorry, is a way to go. Where you own your mistakes, you apologize when you know you are wrong. Hey, mommy is sorry, daddy is sorry. Hi, I'm sorry. Just apologize. And what you're doing, you are not only apologizing because it's human. What you're doing is that you are teaching them to say that when you are wrong, you need to apologize. Then we are seeing another example. Please forgive me. I mean, you ask them to forgive you when you realize you've gone wrong. I remember so well how I think that I was disciplined by my dad. I was young, but I remember, and when I was very angry at him, then he called me, and then he opened the scriptures to me, where I read it loud that we are supposed to obey our parents in the Lord. For this is right. We should honor our mother and father because there is a promise and all that. Then he also opened another scripture where he says that parents should not also provoke their children. And he asked me to also read that. So we read from both sides and we realized that, okay, somebody also might have provoked somebody and somebody also maybe didn't obey. So that is just that. And my dad asked me to forgive him. And so that's that. It's a way to go. And I learned from that also that, hey, daddy can also make mistakes. And growing up, I also know that as a daddy, I also can make mistakes. And when I make a mistake, I apologize. Next, I shouldn't have spoken to you that way. Of course. There are times that maybe we are all human, and so maybe you may go a little overboard with your emotions. If that happens, you can admit that, okay, how you spoke wasn't the right way. And usually it happens, it's usually about how people speak to others, how parents speak to their kids and all that. So if you know you did not speak well, maybe in public, you have a teenager and you speak to the teenager as though the person is a baby or a small boy, a little girl who is not reasoning and all that. Maybe in public, I mean, we need to make time and reminisce. If you believe so much that how you spoke wasn't the right way, you can just call them, especially if they are growing up. Now, how teenagers or the amount of information that teenagers 10, 15 years ago had is not the same is not the same exposure that teenagers have now. The world is moving at a very fast pace. And so the way you were raised 20 years ago can't be the same way that these younger ones are being raised now. And so if you believe that you didn't speak to them well and it didn't show, it wasn't commensurate to their level. I mean, sometimes maybe your firstborn is around 15 years or 12 years or 10 years. You can't speak to him the same way that you speak to the ones who are 5 years and 6 years old. At least once you are growing, you make them know, okay, you are the big brother, you know, you are the big sister now and all that. And how you speak to them also helps them to build that confidence and be able to let them carry with responsibilities and also be accountable. And so when you treat them that way and speak to them that way, it helps to boost their confidence. And when they are out there, they know that they are the big sisters, incoming big brothers, and mommy can count on them, daddy can count on them. and all that. So once you speak to them, you realize that that wasn't the way to go. You need to correct it, and they know that you are not breaking their spirit. The next one, yes, of course, we are humans. When you admit that the way you handle something wasn't the best, or you can say, okay, maybe the way I spoke to you wasn't the way to go. So next time I'll do better. That alone lets them know that, okay, so there's always room for improvement. Even daddy, who I thought was perfect, also has room for improvement. When it tells children again is that, hey, there's always room for improvement, and whatever I'm doing, I can also do better. All right. Character formation over compliance. Actually, when kids are growing, one of the things that is common in homes is rules. Here, don't do this, don't do that, you must do this, you must do that. It's good, but then the interesting thing about rules or forcing compliance is that rules can manage behavior only when you are watching. Interestingly, but what happens when you are not there? So parenting is not really about only obedience, because usually kids will obey when you are there, when you are around, especially if you put in place very strict rules and they know that you have I must obey because daddy says this or mommy says we shouldn't do this, and that ends it. It's good. But if we can also consider it from this approach where we focus on formation, when I say formation, as we look at it from a value-based approach than only rules and ensuring compliance and all that, especially for teenagers. Because when teenagers are growing, they say, okay, now I'm becoming more of an adult. Now I'm growing, I'm no more a small boy. The way mommy is talking to me, or this and that. So there's always an approach. If it's always about rules, that's where teenagers usually like breaking rules. I mean, so if you look at it in senior high schools, that's where lots of the stubborn stuff, the stubborn things happen, because there are teenagers and all these rules in boarding house. Don't go here. You can't jump the wall. Why would you want to go to town? You want to skip or scale over the wall and then go to town and all that. Why can't I do it? All of these things. So if it's value based, now you cannot supervise kids everywhere, especially if you're a parent. Okay, so what happens when they are in the boarding school? What happens when you set all the rules? Now they are in a place where your eyes cannot see them or your feet cannot go at that particular point in time. They are entering places where you are not. They are in schools, classrooms, dormitories, and all that, relating with all manner of persons. So if it's value-based, now, like we've written here, rules, can only control behavior when you are watching. But if it's value-based, it guides them even where you are not. So now, in a place where you are watching, you are giving instructions and say, hey, don't go out at 6 p.m. You are in the house. And so when you give the instruction, they will not go out at 6 p.m. maybe to whatever party or whatever it is. But if they understand that, is it right to go to a party at 6 p.m.? Or why should I not go to a party at 6 p.m.? Oh, it's because I believe that it is dark. And when it's dark, I don't want to find myself in a wrong place, exposed to danger, or a place where there's a lot of social vices and there's a lot of negative influence. So when there's value, or you communicate it from a value perspective, it's better. Now, when you have even traveled and your kids are alone at home, they are not going out after 6 p.m., not because they are afraid or because you are watching them, but because they understand the value in that. And so right from that value, now it moves to a place of character. And so now it becomes their identity. They know who they are and they know why. If you know who you are, you know you cannot be found in a certain place at 8 p.m. when I'm in JHS 3 or senior high school 1. So it's now moved from rules-based or rule-based and strict compliance alone to value-based, and now to the level where it's become a character and a matter of identity. All right, now let's look at it. Continuing again, issuing rules with reasons. Yeah. So we are looking at it where external restrictions now translate or migrate to become internal convictions. Just like I was saying in the past slide, that it's not only about rules and compliance, but now it's become value-based. And so it's part of me, it's my internal conviction. And so if you leave me even to be alone, when you go and put me in a boarding house and I'm surrounded by all the vices, now I understand that I must not be engaged in a certain activity that will not help me, not because my parents instructed me not to do it alone, but now I have internalized it. It's my conviction. It's part of me. You won't find me in the places where people are gathered and smoking weed, and they are saying that, I mean, if you're a senior in SHS 3 or SHS 4 or from 4, I mean, you need to high up and all that. You can be at home as a parent or as a big sister, as a sibling, as a mentor, and be proud or beat your heart, not that you're having confidence in your flesh, but then you are confident because you know that there's a formation that has taken place in the child or in the teenager, and you know that they have internalized the values. And so irrespective of where you place them on this planet, they know who they are. And so it's not a matter of external restrictions, but they've internalized whatever that has been passed to them by way of values. And so they've internalized it and it's become a conviction. Example, so to the left, we have a rule, and to the right, we have the value behind, I mean, the rule. So these are just examples. I mean, I wasn't sure how many of us here are Christians or believers in the Bible, so I didn't want to sound too churchy, so I decided to make this a bit general. So for example, when you're saying that you're telling a child, don't lie. So this is an external restriction. You're telling me I should desist from doing something. You're restricting me from doing something. But how about going the extra mile of explaining the value behind it? An example, you have to value truth, because it builds trust and then it makes you walk upright. You become an upright person if you do not lie. Just like we see that the Bible says that Job was an upright man amongst all the men of the East. So an example is it makes you upright. You are not a crooked person. And so so you give examples of how a crooked person ends up. Their life doesn't end up well and all that, but an upright person is a righteous person. So all of those things, when the person understands the value behind it, whenever you are saying don't lie, the person is not seeing a restriction, or the child is not seeing that you are restricting them, but they are seeing that, hey, if I don't lie, then it means that I'm becoming more like how Job was. He was an upright man. Like I'm becoming more like how the man Jesus was when he walked on the surface of the earth. Oh, okay, if you tell a lie, that means that you are going the opposite direction. All of that. So let's move away a bit, or let's go beyond the rules and the restrictions and lean more towards the values behind those rules. So another example, don't steal. What are we saying? The value behind that. We are saying that you are not stealing because you respect what belongs to others and you don't want to take it unlawfully, because when you do that, you are hurting the people, and it's not good to hurt people. You don't want to hurt mommy, you don't want to hurt daddy by taking or stealing their money without permission. So that's it. An example, you're saying that if you're a teenager, you need to learn, you need to control yourself. Why are you saying that, okay, I mean, I shouldn't have sex because all my friends are talking about sex? Why am I not permitted? So they need to understand, you need to communicate the value behind that, the value of purity and what it does to you, the value of self-discipline, and how that you shouldn't be ruled by impulse. Anybody who cannot practice self-discipline, just like the man told his son, his firstborn, that he's unstable as water. He's unstable as water. And so anybody who cannot practice self-discipline is unstable. Today you are here. Tomorrow you want to do this. Anything you see will be engaged in and how it's going to destroy your life. Then we move on to how you work. Young teenagers, people in their teens, entering into their 20s. very soon they'll be transitioning into the world of work. Even in some parts of the world, when you are 16, 17 years, you can work. And so how about that? Because work is a part of life, but people must understand work. When you say people should go and do their work, when you assign work to your children at home, are they doing the work out of some sort of compulsion? That because I've been told I'm given a chore to do, but let them know, let them understand and value responsibility and take pride in their work, and that work makes them productive. So if you give your children work to do in their house, are they doing it grudgingly? When they wake up to go and sweep, or you have to fight them or remind them all the time, tap them all the time from the bed and say, won't you go and do your chores? Won't you go and wash the plate? Won't you go and water the plants? Won't you go and wash daddy's car and all of that? When you assign them work to do, let's communicate the value behind it, that work is responsibility and you need to take pride in your work. When you clean daddy's car and it's looking beautiful, when daddy comes out or when daddy drives out or when you sit in the car with daddy, you look like a responsible family, or the car must not be dirty. When you water the plants, you are nurturing the plants to grow and become beautiful and beautify the house. And also let's communicate the value that all those work activities bring to everybody, not only them. Then how waste, they should not entertain waste. That we are stewards of our environment, that when something is given to us, we must maximize its potential and not waste it. Like that takes us to the parable of the talents. Somebody who was given something valuable didn't even use it for anything. And so it became unprofitable. And what he had was even taken from him and given to another. So what we are saying is that rules regulate behavior. Well, that's fine. You can put in a lot of rules to regulate behavior, but values actually shapes identity. So beyond the rules, let's move and get ourselves more lean towards values to shape the identity of our children. All right, we're rounding up. What is your child learning about work? This is very important. I'm actually writing a book about work, and I realize that it's one of the areas that isn't taught in school. Right from primary school all the way to the university, I doubt that there's a proper or there's a good work, intentional teaching or raising as far as the world of work is concerned. And so it's a gap that I'm going to be filling soon. So I'm very passionate about how young people work, because a lot of the times people get out of school, and when you are exposed to the corporate world or the world of work, you are left on your own. You make a lot of mistakes that I believe should or are avoidable if you had somebody to teach you about how to approach work. So that's that. So let me read this. Long before your child enters the workplace, they are forming their relationship with work by watching yours. Oh, interesting. What you model about effort, responsibility, and contribution will shape their work ethic for a long time. Now, let me give an example. I always say that when I was very small, my dad was in the military before he retired. So I was raised in the military camp. It's called 𝗣𝗡𝗡 camp in Ghana. The main military camp in Accra is called 𝗣𝗡𝗡 camp. That's where I was raised. I was born and raised there. So I could see how serious my father was with his work. My father was never late to work. That is so hard to believe, but that was actually the truth. My father, I never saw him late to work before. I don't know how that happened. And so I could see his seriousness. He will iron his uniforms a week before work. And so he has set of uniforms. Latest by Saturday, the uniforms from Monday to Friday should be ironed. And I was so enthused when I was growing up as a young person. I was like, this man is so serious about his work. And he's always early, his boots always shining, and all that. When he has a class, he was an instructor as well. When he has a class to teach, he would wake me up at dawn, give me his notes. I'll be watching or reading through, I'll be watching into his notes and correcting him whilst he practiced his recitals, because there were a lot of drills that one you recite it and you must master it so that you'll be able to instruct the class. You can't be looking into the book, the notes all the time, because you must, it's an instruction. So you instruct them on drills. And I'll be watching through at 4:30 a.m., at 5 a.m., at 5:30 a.m., at dawn. And I'll watch how you'll be so serious and you'll be practicing the drills, because I mean there wasn't a gun like AK-47 in the home, but that's what it's going to be using. So you'll be practicing with anything like a remote control or something in the house. And it was passed on to me because that is what I see about his approach to work. And so what are we saying here? One, work must not be seen as punishment. It will surprise you to know that when you are always complaining at home, or whenever daddy or mommy is coming back from work, we know they are coming angry. We know they are coming improperly dressed. We know they are coming back drunk. We know they are coming back home sad because they have issues and they are going to be angry about everybody. And so when daddy is coming back from work, we must all go hiding, because work is a place that we know when daddy goes to, he will come back and we'll all have problems at home. But when he's at home, we are all happy on weekends. But from Monday to Friday, we know that daddy will be returning home pissed or in a bad mood. And so what it communicates to the children is that work is a place that is not meant to be a place that you'll be happy about, or it's not a place of joy, but it's a place of trouble and sorrows. Unfortunately, that's the communication children are going to get. If you're always complaining about work, you are returning home from work with problems and issues and quarrels as soon as you enter the home. So we must really watch that, how our work is being communicated to the kids. Now, to the other side, work can be seen by children as a place of excellence. Just like I give an example about my own father, who we see pursues his work with quality. And like I said, you will see the pride in my father when he's ironing his military uniform. Ironing it, I mean, I remember how we'll prepare starch to and would help him to put the starch. We will help my father to shine his boots. And we just want to be sure that after shining the boots, we can see our faces, because it must be so shiny, and we'll sit on the floor together and we'll be shining his boots. It taught me excellence. And to date, I exhibit excellence in my work. It is communicated. It is not through practice and what we model. It is not by telling your child and say that when you grow, make sure you do your work excellently. No, they are watching and they are learning. All right, now work as service. Yes, when children see work framed as contribution, they learn that value creation, not just earning, is the goal. So we are working as parents not only because we want to get money, but it's a matter of creating value, and it's a service that we are rendering to God and humanity. And so we are advised by the Holy Book that we should carry out our work as unto the Lord and not as unto man. And so when we see that our work is service, we are serving humanity. And so for me as an individual, I always say, wherever I get opportunity to talk to people about work, that I see myself as somebody contributing to Ghana's economy. Because where I work, we actually are involved in offering key services to the key operators in Ghana's oil and gas industry. There are two operators, Tolo or Talo, and then Eni. And we are involved in Talo's operations, very, 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 very key part. And so what I say is that I see myself as involved in service to Ghana. And I offer crucial services to be able to help to, boost the economy of Ghana. And so I see work as a service, not only a place where I go to carry out activities, then at the end of the month, I'm giving money. I see it beyond that. And that is what we need to communicate to our children as well. And we brag about our work, let them know that this is what your work is contributing to. And when you do that, they can't wait to also grow and also serve their nation or serve humanity. 2 more slides to go. All right, so what we are saying, I cannot end this without talking about leadership. So the home is the first leadership school. You can write this down, it's very crucial. The home is the first leadership school. How we make decisions. That's one. I remember how sometimes when my dad would want to make some certain decisions, he would call the entire family and let us know. I was small, but I remember that act alone taught me something. He was pointing a direction. So this is what we are doing. This is what is at hand. This is how I'm saying or I'm advising that we should go. And it always helped. He communicated leadership. He offered leadership. He was somebody that we'll always be looking up to. So that is leadership. And we saw that in the decisions that he took, decisions that will not benefit him alone, but benefit all of us. The second thing, how you resolve conflict as parents. Are you exchanging words, mother and father, in front of the kids? When is the conflict? When your two kids are fighting, there's a challenge. How do you resolve it? You say, okay, your sister beat you, you need to go and beat him. Your brother beat you, you need to beat him back. Do that. Or you call them and you let them know that this is the wrong way and that as siblings, this is how to resolve this. Apologize to him, apologize to her. That is your big brother. You do not speak to him that way. You call the big brother. That is your small brother or your small sister. Why did you do this? Then apologize to each other. From today onwards, I'll respect you. I also respect you. Whatever, however you go about it, that is leadership. You are resolving conflicts and solving problems. The third one, how you treat people with less power. If your children, if you are wealthy and you have quote unquote, like needy people or people who are not so well to do in your community, how do you speak to them? Your kids are listening, they are watching. Please, most of the times, your kids are super intelligent than you think. The things they pick up, you'll be surprised. So how you treat people, that's leadership. You do not look down on people. Like Jesus's approach. Jesus' approach is servant leadership approach. You serve people in your community. So you do not talk to people because in a certain way, how do you call it? You don't discrimination. You don't discriminate against people because you believe they don't have or they don't have the ability or they are not at your level, sort of, and all of those things. That is not leadership. It's not the way to go. That's not servant leadership. Then the last one, how you keep promises. Don't always promise kids and then you don't fulfill your promises. That's not how God is. God's promises to us are all yea and amen. So when God promises us, he fulfills. And like I said, if you are parenting, you are partnering with God to raise people. And so let's learn this approach. Just be a person of integrity. Let your yea be your yea and your nay, nay. So when you want to do something, just promise the children what you can do. Don't just tell them or build mansions in the air for them. Then finally, what I want to say is that parenting, or as a parent, you are a living curriculum. So this is what those of us who believe in the scriptures, it says that there was an apostle. He said he was so bold that he told people to imitate him as he imitates Christ. And that's a very bold statement to make. What he was saying is that don't only listen to what I'm saying, watch how I live my life and then imitate me and follow suit. Then again, there's a scripture where he said, you are our epistle written in our hearts, known and read by all men. Actually, he was talking about commendation or recommendation. And he was saying that I don't need to commend myself because he was talking to the people that he had raised in the Lord. And he was telling them, you people, you are my recommendation or epistles. And when men see you, that is what they see. So it can be read by people. Your children can be read by people. When people see your children, they are reading you, they are reading your life because you are the one who raised them. And your children are your recommendation letters. Because when people want to recommend you and see whether you're a good parent or bad parent, when they see your children, they will tell, they will be able to tell. And it is not far-fetched, it's not far from that. And that is the truth. So what we are saying is that we want to become parents who are bold enough to be able to instruct their children, not simply just to tell their children that listen to me and obey me, but can we be bold and tell the children, watch how I live, emulate my life, emulate me. And again, like I said in the earlier slides, You are the mirror that your children see every day. And the image that they see in the mirror is what they are becoming. Now, again, we are saying again that a parent is a living curriculum. Yes, we are talking about your life, everything about your life. And it's the most powerful teaching tool that you can possess. And let's use it well. Then finally, we are saying the greatest parenting lesson you will ever deliver may not be the speech you prepare. It may be the life you lead. And your child is reading it every single day. Finally, you are not just raising a child, you are writing a living letter that they will carry into every room you will never enter. So please, what we are teaching children goes beyond what we speak. It is how we live on a daily basis. If you would take notes, you can just write a few things down that you've not spoken of and just take time off and observe your children, and it will shock you to see that they will start replicating some of the things you do. Is it songs that we play at home? Till date, there are songs that my mother used to play in the house. Of course, very good Christian music and very good songs about life in general. I can still remember those songs to date, as little as I was, about 6 years or 7 years. I still remember those songs and I can sing all of them to date. It created an atmosphere in the home. It communicated to me, and whilst I was growing every step of the way, those songs reminded me of certain key facts and beautiful things about life that must not be taken for granted. So that's what we are saying. Thank you so much for your time and audience. Please, are there any questions for me? Over to you, Ms. Erengwa, please.
Like, I don't know how to feel right now. I'm feeling all the emotions at once. I'm feeling both hot, I'm feeling cold. I'm feeling like the emotions are on a high. I don't know what to say. Sincerely, please, let's a round of applause, the emojis. Wow. Like this is a handful. This is something that I don't think anybody can get over. A lot, in as much as we know a lot, but seeing parenting from another dimension. Thank you so much, sir. This is profound. This is actually the word. This is what we are looking for. Thank you so much. And from a little things I've been able to grab, I have a lot. I have written like up to 3 pages and still more and more. Thank you so much, sir. This is awesome. This is mind-blowing. And hey, parenting is something that, when we talk about it, it looks as if it's a one-way traffic stop. It looks as if it's, as I say, that is how they must do it. But looking at it from the angle that you are a living episode, whatever you're doing, your child is watching you, they are mirroring you. In fact, they are living everything. They are living out your life. Whatever your child is doing out there is almost like a replica of what or who you are and who your family is. You mentioned having a curriculum. In fact, every family has a curriculum, whether accidentally or intentionally. I picked that. I'm actually saying this was off my head. I'm not even looking into my book, because some of them are actually, they are life and they are not just word. They are written epistles on our heart. And then the last thing you said, because I don't want to take much of our time, that's one actually struck me in a different way. You said you're not just writing a living letter that they will carry into every room you would never enter. Oh my goodness. Your children are a representation of wherever they have been found, be you there or if you're not there. Thank you so much, sir. I would like to actually have some persons, if you have a question to ask him, if you have a contribution. We'll first take questions before we go over to contributions. If you have any question you want to, something bothering you, something you feel needs some light on it, please. The floor is yours, as we want to quickly, round up so we can get prepared for the next thing. Anyone? Is there anyone that has any question to ask? Any question? Any question? You're free to unmute. The floor is yours at this moment. All right. Any contributions? Is there anybody that has any contribution? has something to say? Any contribution? So we got everything. We don't have any other thing to say. I actually wanted to, like, as you were talking, you talked about every family having a curriculum. We talked about we being living curriculums that our children are emulating. Then there's this question that was actually running through my mind. The Bible says, having done all to stand. What if this parent has actually lived a good life? Because we've seen some families that the children, God is in control. Like, you see some family that the parents are good people. They are sincere. They are honorable people. But somehow, you see this bad seed springing up. So I want to ask the question, what could be the cause? In as much as this parent, they have done what they are supposed to do as parents, but then somehow, somewhere, you still see a corrupt seed. What do you think could be the cause of this, sir?
All right, thank you so much. That's a very brilliant question. So I'll look at it in two folds. Firstly, let me speak briefly about the parable of the tares in the book of Matthew chapter 13, where Jesus spoke about the kingdom of God and the kingdom of heaven, and he likened it to a good man who sowed seeds in his field. And then the Bible says that while men slept, the enemy came in to sow tares. And fast forward, it says that when it was time for the wheat to be fruitful, the wheat grew, and when it began to bear fruit, it says that the tares also sprang up. Now, the servants of that master came and said that, Master, but did you not sow good seeds? But we have seen tares amongst the seeds. So should we go? Then the master said, an enemy has done this. Now, this is what the servant said. They said, Master, let us go and collect it. Then the master said, wait, hold on. Let all of them grow. Then at the time of the harvest, we will separate them. Why am I saying this? I want to make a point. The first point is that these things are not normal. If you do not believe in some of these things, just use this as a cue. Because the master says something, an enemy has done this. So there are times that parents can do their best. They are raising their children so well. But then, just like you said, mysteriously or strangely, you will find out what has happened. I thought this was a pastor's child. I thought this small girl or this little girl came from a Christian home. But what is happening? Good seeds had been sown, with no doubt about that. But he said, while men slept, an enemy came to sow tares. So there are times that something, some way, somehow, your kids are exposed to certain people that sow certain seeds in them. And so we'll not dispute it that you can do all you can, but then in some way, somehow. But what we are saying is that when it was time for the harvest, what the master did, he sent his angels or his servants to separate the wheat or the tares and handle the tares and also separated the wheat. When you identify those things, you need to uproot them at the time that it's maturing. There are times that you may not see it at the early stage because it was sown at the time that men slept. But once you identify it, the thing wants to begin to bear fruit. You must address it. That's one way. Now, what I want to say on the other side, like the very popular scripture in the book of Proverbs, chapter 22, verse 6, that says that we should train up a child in the way he should go. And when he's old, he will not depart from it. You know, the scriptures cannot be broken. When I see that you really train up a child, you are claiming that as a parent, you train up a child the way it should go. But the child went wayward. My question to you, now I want to find out, how did you train the child? Because this is what the scriptures is saying. We believe in the scriptures. And the scriptures cannot be broken. It says that when you train up a child the way they should go, when they grow, no matter what happens, they will not depart from that way. So I want to now find out, how are you training the child? Then it means that the question is how you are training the child, not that you train the child well, but then the child ended up going wayward. So it means that your training of the child is what we must question. Because there's no way you train up a child the way they should go, and they will grow and they will not they will depart from it. And I always will use myself and my sibling as an example. We are here. There's a way we're trained. My parents were not pastors, but look at us. By the grace of God, it is about the training. So the training, like I said, must be intentional. If you leave that to chance, somebody else will come and sow a tear, or will sow weeds in that garden that you feel that you have sown good seeds. So please, let's be watchful as parents. The only time that the enemy got to come and sow tares was when men were asleep. So don't be asleep as a parent. You must watch. That is why Jesus says something. He said, watch and pray. So you must be awake. Don't be a sleeping parent all the time. Don't sleep over things. If you take things for granted, you are always leaving the key things about your children to the teachers at the school, to the community. Then somebody will come in because you are now acting as somebody who is asleep. You are asleep on your garden. Somebody will come and sow tares amongst the wheat that you have sown. So please be awake. Don't be a sleeping parent. If you are a sleeping parent, another evil seed will be sown in the garden. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. This is beautifully answered. Beautifully answered. I believe I just felt that that would have been a question in somebody's heart. I'm doing my best as a parent. I am talking. I am guiding. I am instructing. But why is it still looking as if I'm not getting it somehow? Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for those words. I think I remember, I think either Charles and John Wesley or so, that a mother prayed for them every day. I don't know if I'm mistaken, but there was one of them that did not actually follow the pathway that the mother was. I heard that that one finally gave his life to Christ the day their mother died. So their mother has done something. She has been cooking up something. I also heard of I think Pastor Paul Adefrasi is a pastor, he's a popular pastor in Nigeria here, that he mentioned somewhere, either him or someone else, he mentioned somewhere that they were like 3 brothers or so, and most of them, they were not living, they were not living in the way their parents have trained them, and their parents continued praying. I think he mentioned that their father was not even alive to see them turn over. But I think right now the 3 of them are pastors. So their parents, over time, you've been doing something. Sometimes it may not look as if is becoming everything, but you keep on doing it, you keep on burning the coal, burning the fire, and one day, as long as you've done your bit as a parent, God is a rewarder of those that diligently seek him. So he rewards even parents that have diligently trained their children. Your work, your effort, your labor will definitely not be in vain. So thank you so much, sir. And that takes us to tomorrow's topic. Oh my goodness. If you're in this house, you will not want to lose or miss tomorrow's section for anything. We are going to be looking at spiritual intentionality in raising your kids, because right now, as we know it, the kingdom of God suffereth violence. I'm quoting as a Christian. For those who are not Christians, please bear with us. There's a part of the Bible that said that the kingdom of God suffereth violence, and it's only the violent that taketh it by force. When it comes to raising your children, spirituality, God must not be a side thing. It has to be the main thing. It has to be something that you intentionally teach your children, because, hey, a lot of forces are there. A lot of things are there. They don't want those children to actually, as a matter of fact, the devil is after your seed, the seed of the woman, according to the book of Genesis. So the devil is always after the seed of the woman. So that is why as parents, we cannot afford to slag behind. We cannot afford to, be sleeping. We cannot afford to be gentle. Like we talked about gentle parenting yesterday. You cannot afford to do it gentle way. Yes, there are some parts you need to be gentle with them. Let them understand you. Let them know that you love them. But there are some times you need to be firm as a parent. So thank you to everyone who has been a part of this webinar and conference tonight. Thank you so much for being a part of this. God bless you. I don't think there's anyone that still have anything to say, but because I'm about to round up and call it. Thank you so much, sir, for being a part of this meeting, for honoring us. We really, really, really thank you. We love you, sir. We honor you. We celebrate you. Please let us give us those images again. Thank you, sir. This night, nobody will say that tonight was a waste. It was never a waste. It wasn't at all. And I know that somebody somewhere is going home with something that you're going to replicate in the life of your children. And we'll be seeing them shining out there. We'll be seeing them glowing. We'll be seeing them representing not just you, but your country and God and everything that has to do with you. Thank you for being a part of this evening. God bless you. We will be telling the announcement to also go on as we've been doing in the platform. Make sure that you're a part of this. Make sure you invite somebody and make sure that you're here tomorrow as it's going to be loaded again. Loaded, a lot loaded. God bless you. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful, wonderful night rest. You can unmute to say goodbye. You can unmute to say bye. Good night. Have a lovely night rest.
All right,
So wherever
bye.
you're coming, good night. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
Till the day will dawn, is at work in me, bringing everything. You know, Jesus, I swallow your pride tonight. Come to the school of the Spirit. Don't you know, in his hands is the key to eternal life. A little here and a little there, until the day will dawn. He's at work in me, bringing everything. He don't need us. He's my life. He don't need us. Holy Ghost.